Thank you. My name is Moritz Cornelis Escher, and I'll be your MC for the evening. I know what you're all thinking. I look like if Mr. Hankey and Gary Busey had a child, and then dropped it. I'm so old I used to play pickleball back when it was called cucumber ball. Did I just hear a dog? Now that I'm giving stand-up comedy a chance, I have a lot of time to wonder. If we turn to dust when we die, aren't all tattoos temporary? Is a picture still worth 1,000 words, even with inflation? Aren't all sales of Dasani water a liquidation sale? I've been bottled up for too long. I wonder if it's okay to go to New Jersey with an old shirt on. I wonder if certain dad jokes have been grandfathered in. I wonder if from a vampire's perspective, all humans are bite-sized. I wonder if Siamese twins use the idiom, "I was besides myself." I wonder if pilots use the idiom, "I'm going to crash" when they're tired. I wonder if mice follow the Pied Piper on Facebook, X, and Instagram. I wonder if anyone has pried the gun out of Charlton Heston's hands yet. I wonder if astronauts in orbit can feel under the weather. I wonder if there's a thing called senior pranks at a nursing home. I wonder if fish wait with bated breath. A guy who believes in reincarnation once said to me, "Kill me once, shame on you. Kill me twice, shame on me." I wonder about that guy. I should rewrite that. I like to breathe new life into reincarnation jokes. I wonder who came up with the word anonymous. I wonder if watchmakers have a lot of time on their hands. Whereas the Earth is the third planet from the Sun, aren't they all third world problems? I wonder what age constitutes a kid according to Trick Cereal. Is that a states' rights issue? I wonder how different motivational speeches would be if there was an I in team. There is no I in team unless you write it in Spanish.
Equipo.
I wonder how often assembly workers get out of line. I wonder if Sammy Davis Jr. saw the glass eye as half empty or half full. I wonder if you illegally get the blueprints for a bathroom, do they call it a leak? Do bowling alley employees ever go on strike? Do baseball players touch base in the off-season? I wonder how often artists draw conclusions. Rough crowd. Get it? Rough? I have the time today to wonder what a giraffe looks like when it throws up. And I have the time to search it online. Worth it. I wonder if homeless people have indoor voices. I wonder why the Limited is bigger than most stores that I shop at. What does that make my stores? I wonder if American Airlines had to file for bankruptcy because Red Bull gives you wings. Does a mama lemur say to her child, "If your friend jumped off a bridge, would you do it too?" I wonder how many towing company employees have been fired for not towing the company line. I wonder when the CEO of the walking company will step down. I wonder if the CEO of Pringles always has a chip on his shoulder. Do wrestlers say I've been slammed at work all day? I wonder how often the CEO of Dove is asked to get off his soapbox. I wonder if the Parker brothers are ever off their game. I wonder if any trampolines are better than others by leaps and bounds. I wonder if certain networks are going to jump the shark in honor of Shark Week. I thought Shark Week was just going to be a week of lawyer shows. Zing! I was looking for West Side Story to be on during Shark Week. I wonder if there are any openings in the surgery field, and if it's truly cutthroat to get in. I'd be sure to use cutting-edge technology. I wonder if a Valtrex commercial could be considered antiviral marketing. I wonder if eating Flintstones vitamins and Fruity Pebbles cereal cancel each other out. I always thought it was weird that Fred had a daughter named Pebbles, and the cereals were called Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles. Cannibalism? I wonder if Jewish people ever cross paths. I also wonder how wrong it is for a vegetarian Jew to eat a rabbit sandwich on Easter that coincides with Passover. I wonder if Van Gogh decided to play it by ear when he corresponded with his girlfriend. I wonder if Craig T. Nelson only flies coach. If we evolved from things out of the water, shouldn't we call the seahorse a horse and a horse a land horse? Same thing with seaweed and what shall now be known as landweeds. If you join the Mile High Club on Virgin Airlines, do you have to jump out mid-flight? Never forget the first time you flew that airline. I wonder if Benjamin Button ever said, "I'm getting too young for this crap." When would Benjamin Button be able to eat tricks? I wonder how Snoop Dogg says drizzle. Drizizzle? Amazing that I've never seen a do not litter sign in front of a neuter and spade clinic. If you're on trial for murdering jurors who give a verdict of not guilty, could you get a fair trial? How do you even spell rhetorical? Another thing I think about a lot are names. I wish there was a monarch named Content, just so I could say content is king. What bad fortune to have the last name Chivalry. Some people would just be waiting for you to die. I wish my name was anonymous because then I would get all kinds of charitable deductions on my tax return. Many quotes would be attributed to me too. I'm happy knowing there's probably somebody in the army right now with the name Major Swagger. I don't understand why you have to say your name before you speak at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I think a terrible wrestler's name would be City Hall, because you can't fight City Hall. I think if your last name is Jingleheimer Schmidt, then you really only have one choice of a name for your son. Barry. What is going on out there? When I was dating, I was determined to find a wife named Village because I heard it takes a village to raise a child. Putin heard that it takes a village too. And so he did. I might name my next child Ready. Just so my kid can say, "I was born ready." Or perhaps my next child, No One Ever, just so she'll be quoted all over the internet. I think she might be the eternal optimist that she'll be known for things like, "I want another snowstorm," and "I like cleaning dishes." I wanted to name my kid Perfect because then I could argue when people say, "Nobody's perfect." I wish my doctor's name was Time because I heard that time heals all wounds. And it would be nice to have time on my side. I heard a band named Septic. They were an underground band. Of all the bands I heard that night, they were number 2. I regret to inform you that the band members are all in treatment now. Alright, this next comedian absolutely needs an introduction. He is a lifelong student who has taken classes in just about everything, and somehow isn't any the wiser. Please put your hands together for Mike Check. Thank you. It's 7 p.m., and I just woke up a few hours ago. Colleges have gotten more selective since I went. I don't think Mike Wazowski would have gotten into Monsters University today. I took AP Journalism in high school. It wasn't an advanced placement class. It was about the Associated Press. I'm in college now, and I have one kid in my suite who treats STDs like Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. My roommate is from Chevy Chase, Maryland. After he made an inappropriate joke once, I said, "You can take the boy out of Chevy Chase, but you can't take Chevy Chase out of the boy." Let's just put that in the category of, that's not what I meant. If the course is called Machine Learning, why do I have to do any work? I took a class on discrete math. I'm not supposed to talk about it. I have a 368-day streak of using a math coach app this year. I'm getting so much better. I argued with someone about radians, degrees, and radii. I walked away because we were just talking in circles. We went off on a tangent a few times. I walked past Pace University at varying speeds. I doubt they'll accept me now. After applying to Assumption College, I drove up with all my stuff. I just assumed they accepted me. They didn't. Last semester I was going to go to surgeon school, but I decided to teach myself and cut out the middleman. In school I helped the teacher scrape gum from desks and I got paid under the table. Today in class I had an aha moment. I didn't understand the topic, but I sang "Take on Me" in my head. In college I thought I walked in on a weed and coke party, but it was just smoke and mirrors. In cosmetology school I never missed a class, but I had a ton of makeup work to do. There was a cheating scandal, but the school did a cover-up. I took a math class as an undergrad, but something about the professor just didn't add up. I found that 95% of success in math is due to attitude. The other 43% is due to skill. My geometry teacher told me I wasn't good at theorems. I had something to prove. I once did my homework while eating supper. The proof was in the pudding. I've never taken an original calculus class. They have all been derivative. There's so many jokes that can be made about parallel lines. The material goes on forever. I asked a math major if she would co-sign my loan. I think she thought I said cosine because she asked me about the radian. I didn't get the house. I was never good at fractions. You don't know the half of it. I'm okay with integers, but fractions is where I draw the line. My friends and classmates will get that. I'm just not sure about the remainder. I talked to my accountant about the division bar, known as the vincula, but he was only interested in the bottom line. I remember when I learned the FOIL method in algebra. First outside, inside last. I used that same mnemonic in the bedroom. I remember when the teacher told me to find x. It was easy, because she sat next to me in class. So awkward. I heard some parabola jokes that are approaching funny, but will never quite reach funny. I bought a statistics book online. Chances are I won't read it. A calculus teacher I know has to set limits at home too. Ironically, I took a nutrition class so that I would be well-rounded. I asked a health teacher to clarify something about prostitutes for me. She told me it was a trick question. I took an exam on how to do the Heimlich maneuver, and I choked. There's not a creative bone in my body. I had the opportunity to look at a skeletal chart today, and none of them is named creative. I knew Siamese twins who were going to skip philosophy class, but decided to think twice. My sign language teacher always tells me to talk to the hand. I'm not real good at signing, so I asked her to lend me a hand. We're not on speaking terms now. I just finished my carpentry exam. Nailed it. My skydiving instructor is pretty unkempt. He really let himself go. During the exam, I had a falling out with him. I attended a skydiving course, but halfway through I dropped out. I finally decided to take a history class because there is no time like the present. Not sure if I'll like the class. Time will tell. The teacher was a has-been. I tried to avoid studying European history in the mid-1300s like the plague. I didn't want to take the multiple choice exam on the history of wars, but I had to pick my battles. I went to a public speaking class by mistake. I didn't speak up. I get away with murder in the forensics class. It's a crime that more schools don't offer this class. In photography class, I got a 33% on my rule of thirds quiz. I'll take it as a win. I spoke to a physical education student about all the hoops he has to jump through to earn his degree. I recently finished a class in beauty school on hair types. It was a tough course. C-O-A-R-S-E. I was assigned a literacy coach, but I couldn't get a good read on him. I was thinking of the time when I got an A on my scarlet letter paper and then charged my teacher with libel. I know a physics teacher who has a lot of quirks. I just heard an amazing lecture about metaphysics. You had to be there. I took a class on relativity that seemed to go on forever. I bought an anatomy book that was incredibly thick. I tried to read the book cover to cover in one sitting just to see what I'm made of. The author is great. I've read the full body of his work. When thinking of answers for my anatomy quiz on the digestive tract, I decided to just go with my gut. I tried studying the night before, but I just didn't have the stomach for it. The professor was a real a-hole. How apropos. In chemistry class, I ran out of supplies and had to admit I'm out of my element. I remember when I made a joke in chemistry class but didn't get a reaction. Kind of like here. People who like chemistry jokes tend to have a strong bond. I heard that podiatry school can be competitive. People are always stepping on each other's toes. One guy put his foot in his mouth and was asked to leave the program. Another guy had to drop out of the program because he couldn't foot the bill. I fell behind in proctology class. Is that considered a good thing? I took a class on diving, but I was in over my head. The diving instructor was such a nice guy. He would bend over backward for you. The teacher did a deep dive on the Mariana Trench. I took a final exam in my magic class, and it was full of trick questions. The exam was mostly about card tricks. I aced it. I hope this joke doesn't make the audience disappear. In culinary school, I was tasked with creating biscuits for animals. The dog ate my homework. I know some people who can't cook worth a damn, but are really good at stirring the pot. I just finished my home economics midterm. It was a piece of cake. While baking, my cooking partner asked me if we should add more orange juice. I said sure. A little OJ never hurt anyone. I think if you're going to make a stabbing joke, it's best to go all in. During a different semester, I had a teacher ask me to toss salad, which was bothersome because it was a calculus course. The whole experience left a bad taste in my mouth. In economics class, I like to put my 2 cents in. When I first learned about confirmation bias in psychology class, I didn't think it was true. It's got to be an impossible job for psychologists to tell people they have oppositional defiance disorder. In my Trust and Deeds course, I took a break for a protein shake. Where there's a will, there's some way. After all those courses, I recently got my doctorate, but please don't call me doctor. It's not my style. The only one who deserves the title as far as I'm concerned is the dude who cups my manhood once a year and my primary care physician. When a waiter brings over our food order, I say to my wife, just what the doctor ordered. She then immediately asks for the check. You've been a fantastic audience in a class of your own. I'm going to turn it back to your MC now. Good job, Mike. I've had a lot of interesting experiences in my life. I often think about the time I came up with the word plagiarize. I saw the original Gap store. It was a real hole in the wall. I was surprised to learn that Land's End ships overseas. They should sell the book Where the Sidewalk Ends. I know a postal worker who really pushed the envelope. I once again had the opportunity to do some shopping at high-end stores in Beverly Hills. This is not my first rodeo. I've been to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. The hostess was two-faced. I'm so sick of fake people. I'm sure interest in that joke will wax and wane, but mostly wax. I was supposed to meet the president of Head & Shoulders Shampoo, but he flaked again. I'll try not to let that go to my head. Or shoulders. I sold Broadway tickets on the street. I scalped hair. I watched a documentary about the Branch Davidians. Surprisingly, not a cult classic. I saw a shirt the other day that said, I love NY, but I'm really a fan of all the letters. I went to buy some asphalt to make a safe walking space. I used curbside pickup. When I was 12, I was diagnosed with dyscalculia. Or was I 21? A friend confided in me that he is a religious person with dyscalculia. I told him to count his blessings. I was in a play about cocaine, but they didn't give me any lines. I looked up and saw construction workers arguing while building a skyscraper. Then I realized there are actually 4 sides to every story. Although the workers fight a lot, on the weekends, they build bridges. When construction workers do team building exercises, do they do truss falls? I like to go through suggestion boxes and remove all the positive remarks. I can really take a compliment. At a fundraising auction at the nursing home, I won my first Grammy. The city was trying to sign blame for a deer crossing sign that was knocked over. The buck stops here. I knew a door-to-door salesman. He was fired after he became unhinged. A customer said to him, don't let the door hit you on the way out, or on the way in, or as you bring it into the living room. A friend told me he wanted to switch his wife's lip balm with super glue. I said to him, don't worry, I won't tell. My lips are sealed. I saw a naked tightrope walker who liked to lay it all on the line. I know of a tightrope walker who thinks very highly of himself. Sometimes I'm reminded of the time I took out a loan from the sperm bank. A makeup artist was bragging about having better rouge. She was really rubbing it in my face. We got into a horrible fight. I can't wait for the makeup sex. I asked the caretaker of an island in New York Harbor if he likes his job. He said he was not at liberty to discuss it. A friend of mine said he was going to get a tattoo of an abacus, and he did. I can really count on him. A tattoo of a window in your throat is a real pain in the neck. I used to have a whole bunch of clown memes, but it just became too many to juggle. I wonder if the price of air mattresses has been affected by inflation. I was going to invest in them, but I decided to sleep on it. I found that National Introverts Day came and went, and nobody said anything. I think it was an inside job. I took a tour of Europe, excluding Germany. My trip was gluten-free. I thought I was going to get a good deal on safety nets, but it fell through. I saw a very bad septic truck driver. This guy couldn't drive for shit. Louis Braille was a hard man to read. I can speak Braille, but I can't read it. I think my town's fire department wasn't planned properly from the start, so to get through the day, they're always just putting out fires. There should have been better planning by the committee. The firefighters got hosed. I'm not always sure why they do what they do. I'll have to ask them a few questions. It has got to be extra insulting when a firefighter gets fired. My friend thought I was in a boat to spend time with him, but I was fishing for a compliment. I was about to buy a trampoline, but I had to bounce. I was told a Container Store trade secret today, but I was asked to keep a lid on it. I found that the security at the Container Store is airtight. I found a bin there about my size. I could barely contain myself. During the holidays, they have a custom called The Alpha is the Shelf. I wish I could organize these jokes better. You know the company Cars for Kids? I initially thought it was an exchange program. Cars for Kids. A 92 Ford Taurus with under 150,000 miles could get you a Russian girl who can bench press 250 pounds. I tried to organize a meeting about getting rid of February 29th as the day for leap year. Ironically, I sent out a save the date. I once misplaced my calendar and had to write important info on my arm, but I'm dating myself. I couldn't figure out how to register for a word competition. Sometimes I need everything spelled out for me. I don't think that conspiracy theorists exist. I knew a pirate who was inquiring about his earnings for the year. He had to make a booty call. I once got that yellow police tape stuck on my shoe. I had to proceed with caution. I once asked a hairdresser to scissor me. I'm not allowed in that establishment anymore. I bought cheap Band-Aids at the dollar store that couldn't be removed easily. What a rip-off. T-shirts these days have some pretty outrageous slogans on them. I saw a shirt at the store and did a double take. What that means is I stole 2 of them. I ordered a box of calendars to give out to friends, but the printer got the order wrong, and now I have a case of the Mondays. I needed to buy a new trash barrel, so I added it to my bucket list. This just sounds like recycled material. I was wondering why my backpack was so heavy, and then I remembered that the camera adds 10 pounds. Someone at a party told me he was a bullfighter. That should have been a red flag right there. With the pay of that profession, I would have thought more people would take a stab at it. I was a little surprised that the packaging for White Cloud toilet paper doesn't come with silver lining. I heard a speech at a nudist colony that just knocked my socks off. I'm not a weirdo or anything. I only go there for the speeches. The boss there was so nice, he'd give you the shirt off his back, if he had one. I think a lady there really liked me. She was dressing me with her eyes. I was on a party committee with a focus on musical chairs, but I lost my seat. My only contribution during my tenure there was to recommend they play Soul Coughing's song about walking around in circles, rather than Tevin Campbell's Round and Round. I was going to do gardening today, but due to the weather, I hung out with a sibling instead. Bros before hoes, as they say. I heard of a silly kidnapper who never took anyone seriously. I applied for a job at AT&T, but I really phoned it in. I was supposed to meet a friend at a support group about helping friends get back on their feet. He stood me up. He always keeps me on my toes. A company made me wish I hadn't turned them in for creating whistles with lead paint. I ended up regretting being a whistleblower, twice. Someone tried to sell me his new design for a whistle, but it was the worst pitch I'd ever heard. I can shut down a company like nobody's business. I copyrighted an ebook with my trademarked logo on the cover, all about patents. If you're interested in licensing it, we'll have to ask a lawyer, because I don't know how to go about that. I paid some guys to teach me how to be a mime. First rule of Mime Club, don't talk about Mime Club. I just came to the realization that every time a mime is in pain, she has to suffer in silence. And if she goes to the doctor, she gets the silent treatment. Having a masseuse touch me makes me uncomfortable. Anyone else feel me? My masseuse sent a New Year's card. It was very touching. I received it on December 31st, so it was a happy ending. Last time I went to see the masseuse, she kept getting phone calls in the other room. It was touch and go for a while. This masseuse rubs me the wrong way, and when she makes fun of me, she really rubs it in. I tried to negotiate with an ashiatsu masseuse, but she ended up walking all over me. I wished the lady in customer service a happy birthday and many happy returns. I went to Party City, but they have a small population, didn't have a mayor, and it ran on septic. I think it was more of a town. I didn't feel comfortable killing an animal while going hunting, so I decided to pass the buck. I saw a piece of wild rice going against the grain. I like to drink alcohol nips and pretend I'm a giant. I don't have a lot of friends. I walked into a bar in Florida and turned to the girl next to me and said, I can't wait to wrap my lips around some nips. Long story short, that's not what they're called there. I went to check the weather online and my computer froze. I hired a paranoid auto mechanic who has the fastest turnaround times in the city. I was recently sold some fishing gear by a fast-talking salesman. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. I used to work as a trapeze artist, but I was let go. I went to a greenhouse to buy a Venus flytrap, but nothing grabbed me. I got in an argument with some guy about where the sciatic is located. That guy has some nerve. I got into a disagreement with a plumber. This guy's arguments didn't hold water. I met a demolition man who moonlighted as a DJ. He would always bring the house down. I gazed up at the sky tonight. Would recommend. 4 stars. When I tell a joke about stars, no, the funny died out years ago. I'm sorry for this one, guys. I was in a dark place when I wrote it. I saw a dust mite die the other day, or he might have been eating. Either way, another one bites the dust. Throughout all of my experiences, I've come to two conclusions. One, people are weird. Two, other people's toe sweat tastes more delicious than mine does. Alright, our next comedian loves to talk about food and will chew your ear off. Please give a warm welcome to Luke Warm. Thank you. I learned what makes a great dinner in culinary school. It took 4 courses. I take so many things with a grain of salt that now I have high blood pressure. I saw that they're selling Nana's chicken noodle soup at Whole Foods, so I'm suing them. I saw a sale the other day. It said buy 3 gluten products, get the 4th gluten-free. I like to imagine Dunkin' Donuts' Fred the Baker spinning out in a parking lot saying, "Time to make the donuts." There were a lot of opinions at the dinner table last night, and I don't like to pick sides, but I went with stuffing, asparagus, and potatoes. In my opinion, anyone who needs to shorten Dunkin' Donuts to Dunks needs to slow down their life a little bit. If Milk Duds taste that good, imagine what the good ones taste like. A friend asked me if I wanted to go to Dick's Last Resort. I said, "Sounds familiar. What is it?" He said, "It's a restaurant where the waitstaff treats you like crap." I said, "Isn't that Applebee's?" I ordered the Impossible Whopper, but the employee told me he couldn't make it. I had to change my order to the Implausible Whopper. I got a side of untenable fries. I heard working at Crock-Pot is a real pressure cooker. All I can think about is food now. Who am I kidding? That's all I was thinking about anyway. Friends asked if I could settle an argument about the best addition to go with a sandwich. I hate picking sides. Apple. I'm convinced Children of the Corn would have been a different movie if they used non-GMO corn. DoorDash makes some bold claims, but they really deliver. Rice. How does the FDA, a scientific body, allow Lucky Charms to get away with the claim that they're magically delicious? I don't think the rabbit would have actually survived for long on a diet of tricks. Not sure it's really for human consumption either. I saw Fruit Loops with marshmallows is a thing now, when the execs say what our sugar cereal needs now is more sugar. Wendy's has a cereal now called Wendy's Frosties. Now I'm wondering if McDonald's made a cereal of their ice cream, but the manufacturing equipment was always broken. I helped out a buffet worker. I was happy to take some things off his plate. This wasn't the only time I assisted him. It was a second helping. I had an alcoholic honey drink and got buzzed. The company who made Alphabet cereal had a PR problem. When those in Mary Poppins' care got older, she sang, "A spoonful of medicine helps the sugar go down." If I have Peapod bring me pizza from Stop and Shop, is it delivery or DiGiorno? I went out to get coffee and got mugged, then went home happy. I heard of a cow who was misbehaving and got grounded. When cooking, one should use a variety of herbs. Sounds like sage advice. I met an heir to the Wusthof family knives. Never a dull moment with this guy. The guy wasn't ripped, but he was cut. When someone says to me everything else is gravy, I think Italians picture something different than I'm picturing. I went to a Wetzel's Pretzels the other day. If your name is Wetzel, very few professions call to you like this one. Wetzel's Accounting and Tax Services, LLC, just doesn't have the same punch to it. Cake. I partook in a locksmaking competition. I got smoked. I think it was a schmear campaign. I chose some selective mating for cows to make a richer dairy product. It's my bread and butter. B-R-E-D. Forget it. Cutting your finger while washing a blender blade with a sponge is the domestic equivalent of walking into a parked car. I mistook a Vietnamese restaurant for a French restaurant. It was a faux pas. Pizza without pineapple. Olive Garden has a slogan, when you're here, you're family. What does that mean exactly? The owner owes me money and the waiter's not talking to me? At Fire and Ice, the waiter really blew hot and cold. I prefer a menu to tell me the price and not say market value. I want to eat, not do research. I went to the 99 restaurant and waited a long time to be seated. And then they got my order wrong. Is this what Jay-Z meant by 99 problems? Pizza with pineapple. I thought of starting a unicycle pizza delivery service. I'm going to call it Meals on Wheel. I figured even if I fall flat on my face, I'll be rolling in the dough. I went to Baskin-Robbins and couldn't decide on their 31 flavors. This perseverating ended with me getting an ice cream headache. Should IHOP, the International House of Pancakes, be involved in National Pancake Day? I tried to negotiate with the restaurant runner, but he just took all the options off the table. Leftover pizza. I think they should move the no-name restaurant in Boston next to Cheers, where everybody knows your name, just to see what would happen. I got an amazing coffee at Startbeck's. See? How do you like it when I mess up your name? Hashtag Startbeck's. At a restaurant, I ordered the catfish. When the meal came over, there was an ugly lady sitting on the plate. Cheese curls. Looks like my hair. What would an illegal seafoods look like? What would a barely legal seafoods look like? All workers just turned 18? I went to a restaurant and the waitress danced in front of me. You might say I got served. Twice. I went to a cannibal restaurant where I was waited on hand and foot. I'd been meaning to try this restaurant for a while. The chef said he wanted me for dinner. The soup was to die for. Personally, I prefer finger foods. This gives new meaning to the statement, you got served. I think it means something different when a cannibal says, you've got a friend in me. I got a salad dressing that says, keep refrigerated at all times. Now I prepare my dinner inside the fridge. Lactate pills. I went to a new drinking establishment in the valley. They set the bar low. I saw an interview with former Subway spokesperson Jared Fogle once, where he held up the giant pants and said that he could fit a whole other little person in there. How did we miss this? I ate a Subway sandwich and then had a Jell-O pudding pop. The person with me thought I was about to do something illegal. How does the restaurant Popeyes not serve spinach? I know they use only virgin olive oil, though. I find thinking outside the bun to be an apropos tagline because that's where the food leaves your body, and fast. I refrained from eating at a lot of restaurants on a recent trip to England and put on a ton of pounds. A British guy put his fist out and said, pound it. I put some money on it. I went on a food tasting tour with no utensils. Luckily, I encountered a fork in the road. Beatles. Oh, that doesn't work. I love that in a Chinese restaurant, the dessert comes with a fortune in it. The creator must have been one smart cookie. I accidentally ate the fortune in a fortune cookie. They really put words in my mouth. One thing I've learned from reading and curating fortunes is that I eat way too many Chinese cookies. A popular bakery down the street has a high turnover rate. A friend of mine told me he was interested in buying a cow. If you buy a cow, are you expected to tip? I was upset to learn about people cow tipping, but decided it wasn't worth crying over spilled milk. Chocolate flavored frosted cereal marshmallow bites. I misplaced a dozen bagels this morning. I finally lost my marbles. I bought a Vitamix because I really wanted to shake things up around here. I realized that when I bought the Vitamix, I really dodged the bullet. I wanted to buy two of the same model, but they said I couldn't mix and match. I asked for a used model and the salesman said, no dice. Recently I watched a show about foods that go rotten. Don't worry, I won't give away any spoilers. I was going to market a blend of spices, but I had no capital, and therein lies the rub. I had an idea for a new Kool-Aid flavor, but someone beat me to the punch. A friend told me that High C tastes better than Capri Sun, but I think he's drinking the Kool-Aid. Another friend told me he realized his father was a lot like the Kool-Aid man. It was a real breakthrough. I recently switched to 2% milk, no longer part of the 1%ers. Anybody who is gluten-free goes against the grain, right? I just had some pretty intense gluten-free pretzels. It was a bag of salt. You didn't foresee that twist. I'll be the first one to admit I'm not very cultured. I would think a dry wine would be an empty glass, or perhaps some raisins. Is it weird if I create a sticker album of all the stickers from fruit that I buy? I have some really nice 4015s. I put the sticker book together and then couldn't find it. It was devastated seeing the fruits of my labor go wasted. It's easy to make jokes about grapes and bananas. It's low-hanging fruit. Meatloaf. That's moving like a bat out of hell. Someone suggested I get a reusable metal tube for drinking that I can use for the rest of my life. That was the last straw. I would hate to have to be the one who has to count to make sure there are in fact 1 billion live cultures in my kombucha drink. I got a good deal on lemons. Buy one, get one free. I think life giving you lemons is a good thing. There should be a sushi called the Rick Roll, and there is stuff inside that you didn't order. Some companies are getting a little too cutesy with their ingredients list. Sabra Hummus lists love. Not sure what constitutes love, but I'm a little bit sketched out right now. Besides, isn't there a saying that you can't buy love? Shouldn't the FDA regulate this? I prefer non-GMO love. Love is also listed on the ingredients of kombucha, and love and respect in my tomato sauce. First off, I only consume organic respect, and I'm trying to cut down on love. How was it, you ask? The love was a little chunky, and the respect was hotter than I expected, but overall, I'd buy it again. I want a company to list love, respect, and honesty, because how can you trust them on the other ingredients otherwise? If I worked at that company, I would leave home every day saying, I have to go make sweet love. Be back later. Black-eyed peas. I listened to Where is the Love, and a worker responded, in aisle 1 next to the cheeses. I dare a company to say they put their blood, sweat, and tears into their product. Probably won't pass kosher certification. I saw a Ben & Jerry's sign that said peace, love, and ice cream. I asked for a small love, hold the ice cream in peace. Yet another establishment I'm not allowed back in. I read a book about how to be a bartender that got mixed reviews. I went back for thirds at a salad bar without missing a beat. I hosted a dinner party for people who had out-of-body experiences. When they asked what they could bring, I told them to just bring themselves. I know a guy who made a lot of dough in the gluten-free business. The CEO of a cookie company always fires people gently. She sugarcoats everything. The CEO of Jiffy resigned because he felt he was spread too thin. The CEO of Evian is a tall glass of water. When it comes to being mean, bakers who won't cater to gay weddings really take the cake. I wrote an article about fillings for a sandwich. It was a fluff piece. You can't go wrong with a sandwich pun when you're in a jam, or when you're in a pickle. Sandwich puns are my bread and butter. I eat food for clarity, just some food for thought. Fish. The Saran Wrap company needs more transparency in their practices. As an employee of that company once said, things are really heating up in here. On his first day, he said, don't worry, I've got this covered. I'm not going to make all of my Saran Wrap puns now. I'll save some for later. I had a genetically modified Indian food. It was labeled as non-GMO. There was a miscommunication with the waiter. He said, would you like to try it? I said, naan for me, thanks. So good. Naan, not my joke. I bought the Whole Foods brand's 365, but on a leap year, I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. I put a bunch of smart water in a think tank. The water label is not smart enough to know it should capitalize its own name, or separate the words smart and water. But it shows real potential. I drank some smart water, drove a smart car, and used a smart board. To even things out, I ate a dum-dum. Tonight's gonna be a good night.
Corn.
I think being the voice of the Pillsbury Doughboy is the role of a lifetime. If two mall-eating establishments have a dispute, do they go to food court? I knew a baker who would not be happy with the decline in gluten sales. He is making turnovers in his grave. I once had disgusting alphabet soup. I sent the company a nasty letter. I found a bag of chips in my cabinet that expired years ago. I am wise beyond my years. People who like sodium chloride on their veggies are the salt of the earth. I was buying McCormick ground cinnamon the other day and noticed the label. Their tagline is, "The taste you trust." I trusted them up until they told me to trust them. I shouldn't have to trust cinnamon, right? I partly expected to peel back the label and see a brown sugar label that read, "Sucka." My wife got me an amazing Weight Watchers dessert. Gives new meaning to brownie points. I had the chance to chew the fat with the Weight Watchers sponsor, and we both felt guilty afterwards. I saw the blueprints to a new Weight Watchers building. It was not drawn to scale. If you can't laugh at a joke about Weight Watchers, you need to lighten up.
Cranberries.
You're free to decide if you like that one. I met a guy in charge of a planter's truck. If I'm to be honest, he drives me a little nuts. There was an article I resisted reading for a while about all the things we inadvertently eat in our lifetime. Finally, I just had to bite the bullet. My wife asked me to read the article faster, so I had to get the lead out. The article was in the Reader's Digest. I remember when my cereal came with a toy ram. I was finally able to take life by the horns. If I could create an ingredient, I would call it moderation. That way people would tell each other they should have moderation in everything. For the record, I think having moderation in everything seems hypocritical. Perhaps a more consistent saying would be, have moderation in about half the things.
Red hot chili peppers. My favorite.
I had an interesting meal last night. I swallowed my pride, choked on my words, was forced to eat crow, and had a dish called revenge. My friend and I had a competition to see who could steal more desserts. In the end, I took the cake. Years ago, I was hired to do the taxes for a restaurant, but then remembered that there is no accounting for taste. I have a severe nut allergy. Every time I have to deal with them, I break out in hives. I know of a baker with hives. He bakes everything from scratch. I heard of a chef who was arrested for cooking the books. I only binge-watch shows on the Food Network.
Salt.
I bought some 2-bite brownies, but returned them because they were defective. I could eat them in one bite. I think they should serve owl at Hooters.
Peppa.
I think I found a wrong way to eat a Reese's. I can't go into details now, and I'll be walking funny for a day or two, but I think I have a lawsuit on my hands. Thank you. You've been an audience. Good night, everyone. In college, I thought I walked in on a weed and coke. In photography class, I got a 30 I was assigned to a literacy coach, but I couldn't get a good read on him. Let's try that one again. I was assigned to a literary... I makeup artist. Whoops.